What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today is the final day of Catch Cup. I, for one, could not be more excited about that. This meta is always such a nightmare for me, but I was able to come up with a team today using Pokemon that were pretty close to 1500 CP. I didn't really want to invest in a lot of Pokemon here for this cup specifically, but I figured that these Pokemon, they weren't the most expensive in the game to build. I had my Marowak I just caught the other day, very close to 1500 CP. Bone Club, Mud Slap, Rock Slide, and I mean, not the worst stats in the world, obviously not great. Lapras, this thing's just a Gigantamax Lapras I got from a raid. It was already 1487 CP, double moved and everything, but it's not exactly PvP IVs, although it does come in clutch quite a bit here today. And then my Galarian Moltres, I actually got this from that ticket that we were able to buy in the middle of the season. Really bad stats, but 1476 CP. And, fun fact, single moved as well. So today in this video, using a single moved Moltres, surely we don't need Brave Bird or Payback. Surely that will not end up losing us any games today. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, let's get into the battles and see what this team can do. Let's get right on into it. Marowak up against the Dedenne. Very interesting Pokemon to see here. I know my backline hates to see this Pokemon, so at any cost, I want to keep Switch. Or I guess if they're going to stay in, this is very interesting. I'm going to go for the Bone Club on alignment. I was expecting a catch after 5 Mud Slap, so going on 4 is almost guaranteed they're not going to catch here. Our opponent goes for the No Shield. They get knocked out. I mean, at this point, they stayed in that lead against my Mud Slapper. I have to imagine they're either weak to my Marowak in the backline, or at the very least, I should save my Marowak just in case I see this Mandibuzz come in, so I bring in my Lapras. No Ice Beam, because obviously I'm not going to Elite TM this very bad IV Lapras for this meta, although Ice Beam I think would be a better play in this meta overall. I don't even know how many Skull Bashes I throw here today, maybe just like 1 or 2 in the entirety of the sets that I was able to do. But our opponent goes for another Dark Pulse. I know it doesn't knock us out. I can reach a Skull Bash here potentially. I know Skull Bash does do a little bit more damage, so I guess here we are, going for a Skull Bash. Maybe it's going to be a bit more helpful than a Surf or a Sparkling Aria in this matchup. We actually get a shield, so I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go for the no shield myself. Getting that shield advantage should put us in a pretty good spot. We actually survived the Aerial Ace thanks to that defense boost. I don't know if that's a good thing for us, saying it gives them an extra snarl of energy, but our Galarian Moltres can resist the fast food pressure. I mean, Brave Bird would be nice here to get a guaranteed knockout with a single charge attack, but Sucker Punch and Fly over time will be enough as well. And because they were so scared of our Marowak in the lead, I'm hoping their final Pokemon is also going to be weak to our Marowak. And there it is, Tinkaton in the backline, a Pokemon that by no means wants to see our ground-type damage. We're able to align our ground-type into it and take the win. GG there to our opponent. Next game, a Tinkatuff in the lead. A very interesting Pokemon to see here. A face-up of a Regidrago. Our opponent's lucky I'm not a D-Gen player running Mudsap plus Wigglytuff. If I were, this trainer would be in so much trouble. But because I am not, I have to go for a Bone Club Chip and Dip instead. Psywave damage is going to add up a little bit against this Regidrago. I know they could go for a Dragon Energy here, and I do want to keep Switch Advantage if I can. My Galarian Moltres in the backline wants to avoid that Tinkatuff at all costs. I know Tinkatuff might look spicy, and I mean, it is spicy. It's just strictly worse than Tinkaton in a lot of situations, but it's still a pretty viable Pokemon. They actually end up letting that Regidrago go. We're able to keep Switch, but we do end up losing Shield Advantage. But this Tinkatuff, when it comes back in, they go for Play Rough as well as the Fairy Wind damage. It's slightly bulkier than Tinkaton, but at the drawback of not having a bait move. There is no Bulldoze on this Pokemon. I think Flash Cannon is its secondary move. And since we're not in range for getting Fairy Winded down is going to be that viable here for our opponent, I think at this point going for Sparkling Arias and just forcing them to either throw a second move here or maybe swapping out should put us in a pretty good spot. Sparkling Aria number 2 ends up landing. Our opponent brings in a Shadow Talonflame, and this is a little bit uncomfortable. Luckily, only being single move doesn't really matter that much in this specific matchup. I think Fast Food Pressure could be my way to win this game. They still have 2 shields to their name, so I don't think that my charge attacks will really be that helpful right now. I'm going for just raw Sucker Punch damage here. I don't even throw my Fly. I feel like Fast Food Pressure will be the way to win this game. Our opponent does go for that Fly there. It knocks us out, but our Sucker Punch damage have put them pretty low. Will we be able to Mudslap down before they reach another move? It's going to be pretty close here, but I don't honestly think that I can. Yeah, they're able to reach a Fly here right now. I have the Bone Club just to stall the switch clock just a little bit longer. Hopefully I can throw this swap out into my Lapras and try to catch a move. Exactly what ends up happening here. They fall for the catch. Fly comes through, knocking out my Lapras, and now Marowak's going to try to slap through the rest of this team. One Mudslap knocks out the Talonflame. The non-Shadow Mudslaps, though, not quite enough to get the knockout against his Tinkatuff. Is a Play Rough enough to knock us out? I think it might just be. Yeah, Marowak goes down. Shadow Marowak would have won us that game, but non-Shadow, unfortunately for us, ends up losing it. GG there to our opponent. Well played with that Tinkatuff. Next game, a very interesting Pokemon to see. I know a very neutral matchup here as well for us. I outpaced a charge attacks, but because Dragon Tails as well as Dragon Claws, maybe even Brick Breaks could add up over time, it is fairly neutral. They go for the no shield on that attack here. I'm now going to go for the next Bone Club on CMP, it looks like. I know at this point that I could shield this attack up if I want to win the twos, but I'm also just fine getting a shield advantage for my backline. Both Skull Bash as well as Sucker Punch and Fly damage for my Moltres in the back can be pretty good with a shield advantage. In comes that Bone Club. Our opponent at this point going to try to go for another charge attack here. No, they go for a farm down. We're going to Simul KO as well as a shield advantage. Couldn't get much better of a lead matchup than that. Love to see that. If thinking about who to come in with, I'm going to come in with my Lapras in the last second, and a good thing I did, because their own Alolan Sandslash comes in. Battle of the Ice types right now, but they're on Powder Snow, so this is actually pretty awkward for them. Main reason being that 2 Drill Runs are not enough to knock us out. The Shadow Claw damage, if they ended up having that fast move instead, would actually put us into double Drill Run range. But Lapras is so bulky here, 2 Sparkling Arias plus the Sidewave damage will knock him out in 2 shots, so we should be able to neutralize this Pokemon pretty easily, but a fantastic catch by our opponent on a Blastoise is going to make my life just a little bit trickier. This means that Galarian Moltres doesn't have a lot of wiggle room here in this game. I'm going to bring in my Galarian Moltres, knowing at this point I can survive a single attack here from this Blastoise. Hydro Cannon not going to one-shot us. If they go for Ice Beam, so be it, but I feel like with 2 shields remaining, that would be a bit of a wild play. We go for a Fly in just a second, and this move should be able to draw a shield or get a knockout from them, depending on how much they want to invest in this. They do end up shielding, and at this point they try to roll out us down, but because we're so bulky here on this Galarian Moltres, I guess the rank 1 stat spread that we have, we're able to go for the Fly, knock out the Blastoise, take the win this game. They realize the 2 shield Lapras is going to be way too much to overcome, and we're able to take the win. Next game is a Shadow Caesar on the lead, a very neutral matchup. Good to avoid this with our Lapras, but our Galarian Moltres actually walls all of the energy from this Pokemon, so can be a little bit better for us in the backline if they do end up swapping out, but they're staying in right now, likely going for a Night Slash here. And Night Slash being thrown, I'm going to go for a Bone Club myself after one more Mud Slap. We're able to either draw a shield here or potentially knock them out if they let it go. But I know Shadow Caesar generally does like to shield that attack up. They go for the next Night Slash. I think I might survive this move, but I could shield this and go for a full slap down as well. I am going to opt to shield a couple more Mud Slaps here. Just 2 are enough to knock them out. They come in with an Azumarill, and this is going to be kind of awkward. I could go and just let the farm down happen on my Marowak, but the thing is, it felt like they were kind of weak to our Marowak there, and I felt like if there's a Rock type in the backline, I did have to bait it out, but because there's an Azumarill that's such a bad core breaker for us, and there's a Basti as well, this game is not looking ideal for us. I think our way we can win this game is if I can get to 3 Sparkling Arias and then swap out to my Marowak here, go for a combo play with a Bone Club, maybe there'd be a chance then to be able to have some wiggle room, keep my Lapras around, but I don't know if my switch clock is going to be up just quite yet. We're going to try to swap out here, but no! If the 45-second switch clock was a thing, which it will be in just a week or so's time, then we would be able to have some more play this game, but because it is not a thing just yet, unfortunately for us, we're able to have our Lapras go down there, not quite go for the combo play. They save their Bastiodon, and now they have an Azumarill plus a Bastiodon, unfortunately, against my Moltres plus my Marowak, and my Marowak is about to go down. In comes that Ice Beam, down goes my Marowak here. And Moltres, I mean, if I had Brave Bird, maybe I could knock him out here, but even if I did, that Bastiodon is way too healthy in the backline. They're going to go for an attack here. I'm hoping that maybe it's going to be an Ice Beam rather than a Play Rough. Maybe they're single move, maybe they're running Hydro Pump, but no, they are on Play Rough. That does way too much damage to us here, and there's no chance that Moltres can close out that backline. Alright, next game, yet another Shadow Caesar lead. I think a lot of people have built a Shadow Caesar in this season. Makes sense. It's one of the best Pokemon that they recently buffed here, so ever since that Shadow event, probably a lot of people are going to have access to it. We're going to go for the shield once again on a Night Slash. It's always going to be the question on if they are going to double shield their Shadow Caesar, or I guess rather single shield, and try to go for my 2 shields. They end up actually catching. I think that was like Giratina, if I saw that right. Yeah, Shadow Giratina ends up coming in. Single moved, Galarian Moltres comes in to try to farm this Pokemon down. The best thing about this is if this is an Ancient Power, we should be able to farm down before a second charge attack will be reached. It is Ancient Power, but they get the boost, so that might actually just not be the case. No, they go for the CMP on the Dragon Claw. Great stuff here. Unfortunately, this means that now I don't have any energy on my Moltres for the backline. We're so low on HP as well. This Caesar can get a decent farm down, but I guess they're also pretty low on HP there, so maybe it's not the end of the world, but they come into the Moltres, and I wish I had all the energy that I could have stored if they didn't get that boost, but because now they're going to be able to shield this and farm us down, I need to get out at all costs, swap into my Lapras here, and I have to hope at this point that we can at least bait that we have Ice Beam, maybe get a shield down, and maybe Rock Slide this later on. It's going to be close, though, one way or another. First step is we were able to call a bait there on that Galarian Moltres. They did not go for a Brave Bird, which is good for us. They go for an attack here on their Shadow Caesar, but I'm thinking maybe I can go for a full Sidewave down here, get to 2 charge attacks, and if I can get to 2 Sparkling Arias and then a Rock Slide with my Marowak, there could be a chance for us to still win this game. We go for the Sparkling Aria, our opponent likely is going to end up shielding. They have to respect the move. No, I guess they don't. They end up letting it go. It doesn't really matter that much for us here one way or another, because we do get the second shield or the second move off and their final shield, and we're able to go for 2 more Mud Slaps. Are we able to get the Rock Slide just barely? We outpace them before the next fly. This Rock Slide should knock them out and take us the win in this game. Down goes that Moltres Marowak, able to close it out. All right, next game, Marowak up against the Shadow Talonflame, one of the most awkward Pokemon that we could really see here in the lead. I'm going to save swap my Moltres. I don't normally love doing this, especially when I've seen a lot of Fairy types here in this meta, but I figure at this point I kind of have to swap this in or else Lapras is just going to get completely abused here. Might be a Water type, but it's also an Ice type. They go for a Flame Charge, which does boost up their attack stat. Kind of awkward for us to deal with, but I can go for a Fly, get the shield back against our opponent. Let's see if they shield. They do shield their Talonflame, and at this point they go for yet another charge attack here at the last second. I know they might go for a Flame Charge to ramp up their attack again, but if they do that, that means they're going to be 3 more Incinerates away from their next charge attack, so I should be able to get either a Psywave down or a Mud Slap down, depending on where I think energy is going to be a little bit more useful. We come in with our Lapras here, they do get a second Incinerate to register. There goes about 30% of my HP just with 2 fast moves. That is how powerful that Pokemon can be. And the backline is not looking ideal for us. It's going to be a Belly Bolt and a Jellicent. This is looking pretty bad for us right now. I'm just hoping that Marowak is going to be able to somehow get a shield advantage here. I know Belly Bolt, while it is an electric type, maybe if I have a shield advantage on my Lapras, I would be able to put in some work against them. I go for the CMP, it looks like, on this Bone Club. At this point, I think I might just let my Marowak go. I know it's a ground type, there's that Belly Bolt in the backline, but Jellicent is so spammy, they get to a second move. They actually Shadow Ball us there. I don't know if that's the most efficient play that they could have done, but it will mean now I am going to force them to throw a second move, and maybe I can shield this up actually, go for a Farm down here, get some more Mud Slap damage, maybe even a Bone Club off against this Belly Bolt. In comes the attack here. I'm hoping that we end up landing this move, but even if we do, we're a non-Shadow Marowak. Yeah, they end up surviving that move pretty easily here, which means at this point, there's almost no chance that we can win this game. We go for the Sparkling Aria at the last second. It's not going to be able to knock them out thanks to their final shield. We go for Sparkling on CMP, but they win CMP. Belly Bolt does have a bit more attack here than Lapras, which means now this Parabolic Charge is going to come through, boost their defense stat, and now Marowak's going to try to slap down, but thanks to their defense boost, they survive on 1 HP. Honestly, a super close game given how bad that matchup was. GG there to our opponent. Next game, going to see a Blastoise in the lead. And once again, this is one of those matchups where having a Shadow Kanto Marowak is so much better because the Shadow Marowak's able to Mud Slap way quicker through this Pokemon, but because I'm still able to maybe get some damage off with this Bone Club as well as the Mud Slaps, it's not like completely unplayable for us. They actually wait a turn here. Smart play by them. I was going to try to catch on my Lapras if I could, but Hydro Cannon will end up drawing our shield. I'm going to go for the catch on their second attack, even though at this point they are going to be able to overfarm a bit more energy. Just keeping my Marowak around could be pretty helpful for us. We end up catching that move properly. They build up even more energy. They actually end up banking a full-on Hydro Cannon, but this is a bit of a strange play. I see a Clodsire come in. Have to imagine they must be pretty weak to Lapras at this point, or maybe they just want to drain my energy here. In comes that first Sparkling. In comes the second one. I was going to try to CMP on a Stone Edge. It looks like they realized they would have lost that CMP anyway, so they go for the sneak. We go away, actually get the knockout against that Clodsire. Clodsire doing nothing for them this game. And in comes the Blastoise once again, and I'm kind of wondering right now, how weak are you to Lapras? I'm going to shield this Farmew all the way down and use the energy on Marowak plus our Lapras here to hopefully win us this game. Our opponent brings in their final Pokemon, and while this isn't the worst Pokemon for us to see, it is a little bit uncomfortable. Main reason being at this point, our Galarian Moltres in the backline is weak to Ice, as well as our Marowak, and we're doing no faster pressure with Psywaves. I go for a second attack here. Sparkling Aria, if it draws a shield, will put us in a very good spot. Our opponent does end up shielding that attack. I do believe I have a Bone Club loaded on my Marowak, and just to guarantee us a bit of a better spot in this game, we go for a catch here on what is almost certainly a Drill Run. We're able to waste a lot of energy from this Pokemon. Now, while we don't have Brave Bird or anything, these Sucker Punches are going to add up quite a bit, and although Ice type damage that is super effective into our Marowak, we have to keep in mind, it's a non-shadow into a non-shadow. We should survive an Ice Punch no matter what. We actually just instantly throw the Bone Club. They don't even go for the Ice Punch. This should knock him out or put him pretty low. They do end up almost getting knocked out there. One more Mud Slap is enough to finish off the job, and we're able to pick up the win. Next game, that is a flex and a half right there. The Purified Giratina, the non-shadow variant. Don't see that too often here in the Open Great League. The only way to get this Pokemon is actually to trade with a very low-level account for this Purified Giratina. I don't really know why it works out this way, but it means that, there's ways to get this Pokemon technically, but most of the time to get this Pokemon, you probably have to do something a little bit against terms of service, like make a new account to get it. But either way, kind of cool Pokemon just to fight off against here. Don't recommend making alt accounts here. This channel recommends following the terms of service, but no matter what, just seeing how this Pokemon's going to play out is pretty cool to see. They actually survive. Look at that bulk on the Purified Giratina here. Their CP is not great. It's like 1460 CP, but they're still able to survive 2 Bone Clubs plus some Mud Slap damage. But our Lapras comes in, farms them all the way down. And what are they going to bring in? I'm hoping once their Giratina's out of the way, maybe I have a bit more play with our Lapras. But no, it doesn't really look like that's the case. It's a Shadow Caesar in the back line. Makes sense. I use this pairing quite a bit myself here in this meta. We actually get a shield of the Sparkling Aria. We go for Moltres against the Shadow Caesar. Sucker Punch damage will add up quite a bit. I don't like doing this, but they end up throwing a charge attack here. I have to shield a resisted Trailblaze, and they bring in their own Lapras, which makes me wonder what their moveset is. Luckily, though, the energy lead that I have will put us in a bit of a better spot, and I'm seeing a way I can make this a bit more awkward for our opponent right now. They actually went for the Trailblaze on that Caesar, so if I'm able to either get a shield down here, then I'm going to be able to win by swapping into my own Lapras here and farming them down, or if they no-shield this, maybe just Fast Move Pressure could win us the game, saying they dumped a lot of energy before swapping out. They actually end up shielding, so now that we know they are on Ice Beam, I think the guaranteed win con is going to be coming to their Lapras, either Sidewave all the way down, or build up to back-to-back Sparkling Arias and win the game that way. They end up going for the charge attack. Luckily, no Ice Beam Skull Badge variant. I was kind of worried about that in the moment, but looks like they are on Sparkling. They throw a second charge attack here against us. Going to be, once again, a Sparkling Aria. We survive. They try to snipe us down with that Shadow Caesar, but Lapras just a bit too bulky. Reaches the Sparkling Aria, knocks out the Shadow Caesar, and now Lapras will come back in, but we're actually able to just barely reach another Sparkling Aria. Not that it really matters. We either could have Sidewave down or Sucker Punch down if we needed to as well. They're pretty energy dry here, and we're able to pick up the win. GG there to our opponent. Next game, Marowak up against a Shadow Feraligatr. And this is another one of those matchups where having a Shadow Marowak is so much better. The regular Marowak in the 2-shield matchup actually does not Mudslap all the way through this Pokemon, so what I have to do instead is I have to go for maybe a catch on their third Hydro Cannon with our Lapras at some point. It's a bit of a risky play, it's a bit of a choreographed play as well, but I'm going to try for it either way if they do end up playing out the 2-shield matchup. They do shield once here, they go for their next Hydro Cannon, just barely outpacing us here, getting our second shield, and Marowak at this point is pretty healthy, which is a good thing about this matchup. If they don't land that charge attack here, then they're not honestly able to do that much damage to us in general. We go for the Bone Club. Are we going to see the catch happen right now? I swap. They do go for the Hydro Cannon immediately. We're able to catch the move here, which is fantastic news for us. We even sneak a Sidewave to get a bit of an energy lead. Our opponent brings in, well, a Berserker, not exactly a Pokemon I've seen too much in this meta. Honestly, a little bit of an awkward Pokemon to end up fighting off against, although Sparkling Aria does do quite a sizable amount of damage here. Trailblaze likely coming through. This move will knock us out, but because we're going to be able to go for some faster pressure against him later on, I'm not that worried. In fact, they actually end up getting a couple more Shadow Claws out of that matchup. I'm going to try to get the Mudslap down, but they just barely reach a foul play before we're able to get that. Maybe I should have gone for the Sucker Punch down, honestly, saying we probably resist all the charge attacks here. Yeah, the Trailblaze plus the foul play probably would have been a better idea to come in with our Moltres there. Either way, though, we have energy on this Pokemon. We try to go for the Moltres Snipe down. Klefki in the backline. I saw the Steel and Fairy typing. I was kind of thinking it was immediately game over, thinking it was a Tinkaton. I'm still thinking it's not looking great for us right now, but if they don't have Play Rough, maybe it's more playable. We actually end up losing CMP. I guess that's kind of good to know. I didn't really know who won that CMP. My Moltres obviously not the best stat spread. Maybe it could have a chance to win CMP there, but no, we end up losing that one. Down goes our Fly of Energy on our Moltres, and our Marowak is going to try its best here to go for the Bone Club, knock out the Klefki, and can we survive one Shadow Claw? We can, just barely mudslapping down the Feraligatr and taking the win. GG there to our opponent. Next game, I'm going to see a Primeape in the lead, and this is honestly a bit of an awkward matchup, mainly because neither of us are Shadow, which means it's going to be a lot harder for us to Mudslap all the way through this Pokemon. They do let us get a full sneak of a Mudslap there. I shield up the attack thinking it's going to be either Ice Punch or a Close Combat, but no, they go for the bait with a Rage Fist. Very good bait by them. At this point, I don't really know if I want to 2-shield through this or not. We get a shield there with that next Bone Club, but they do just barely outpace us with the next charge attack here. Could be a Close Combat or an Ice Punch, but I'm still going to no-shield. Yeah, they do go for the nuke that time. I could have double shielded, but I want to keep shields in the backline just in case I need them a little bit more. Our Lapras is able to Sidewave all the way down, and I guess that's... I mean, it's not good to see a Bastiodon here, but I'd rather see Basti against our Lapras than against our Galarian Moltres. I'm going to be able to land a couple of Sparkling Arias against this Pokemon here, but this is going to be such a tricky endgame depending on how much this Bastiodon's able to do against us. Second Sparkling Aria is going to come through. It's going to be super effective damage against this Pokemon. We once again see a no-shield from our opponent here, and I don't know if I were to shield this move if I could get to 2 more Sparkling Arias, so instead I'm going to let that go. I'm going to go for a Sucker Punch down here, hoping that our energy in the backline could be just a little bit more impactful. Our opponent is almost at the next move. We go for the CMP on the fly. I think even though this move is resisted by both Steel and Rock typings, it should be enough to knock out from this range. It is. They let it go. In comes a Dusclops, and this is where I wish I could say we were going to be able to win this game. But I think Dusclops is bulky enough where they can survive the Sucker Punch damage as well as the Fly and get to 2 Ice Punches against us. Our only win condition is that for some reason, they go for a Shadow Punch bait. I'm going to no-shield just in case they end up doing that, but they're at back-to-back Ice Punches right now. No reason for them to do that. No, they knock us out there. They're able to pick up the win. Unfortunately, not able to beat the Bastion this time. All right, next game going to be a Dusclops here in the lead. A bit of an interesting Pokemon to see, saying our backline is so much better against this Pokemon. They go for the instant throw of the Ice Punch here. Mud-Sap damage is adding up quite a bit, but since I'm the non-Shadow once again, we're not really able to brute force our way through this matchup as easily as the other Marowak would be able to. We go for the Bone Club, trying to chip them down as much as we can. I'm going to expect another instant throw by them, but no, this time they overfarm. They're going to go for a lot of energy. No, they actually, instead of swapping out though with this energy, they throw a Shadow Punch against our Lapras, which I'm very fine with. Shadow Punch doesn't do that much damage to us here. But you can see this is not a very defense-oriented Dusclops, or I guess even if it is, I'm a very attack-weighted Lapras, so there's like no way they can get that defensive bulk point against us. We go for the Overfarm here. They actually bank a little bit of energy, then they swap out to their Tinkaton, a Pokemon that I'm very happy to have baited out. Now our Galarian Moltres does not have to deal with this thing. We go for yet another Sparkling Aria here. This move should be able to put them pretty low, maybe into range where I can Mud-Sap all the way down before they get to another move. They're almost out of Play Rough, though, so I do want to go for the attack before they're able to get our shield with a Play Rough. I go for the Bone Club. Our opponent, if they shield, I will match shields. They do shield for some reason there, so they must be pretty scared of our Marowak. I shield up this Play Rough. I go for the full farm down here if I can before they swap out. No Switch Clock available for them just yet. I'm going to expect to see that Dusclops come back in, but if that is the case, I think there's a good chance we can go for a full Mud-Sap down. They're pretty low on HP right now. Yeah, Dusclops does come right back in. We shield up the attack, go for the Mud-Sap down. I'm hoping that next Mud-Sap will be enough to knock him out here. Ice Punch comes through, we shield that up, and in the back line is a Pokemon we have some play into, but it will be awkward depending on what they're going to do with this Pokemon. In fact, they do shield our first charge attack here. That would have been a good thing for us to see, saying that we could have had Brave Bird on our Moltres, but no, we don't. Instead, I have to go for the Fly instead. This move is going to try its very best to chip down this Moltres. They're going to overfarm as much energy as they possibly can, and because at this point, Brave Bird will knock us out, they're going to be able to dance around with this Moltres. I have Psywave and I have Mud-Slap as fast food pressure, but I do know once a Brave Bird has been thrown, Psywave does 2 damage per turn, so you can actually see here, it's kind of adding up quite a bit with the fast food pressure. We're able to chip them down deep into the red, maybe into Mud-Slap downrange. If they try to swap out, maybe I can get a Bone Club. They don't swap, they try to get the Sucker Punch damage, but now that Dusclops comes back in, one more Mud-Slap knocks them out. We're able to pick up the win there, just barely in that game, with our Marowak coming in clutch in the back line. Yeah, Catch Cup being over, though, I'm so happy that I don't have to deal with this meta anymore. My team just kind of hastily thrown together here. Not the best team. Well, honestly, it's a pretty meta team, but I would definitely recommend going for a double move Moltres, going for the Shadow Marowak, and obviously good IV spreads on these Pokemon could be much better. I think you'd have a lot more consistent results with this team. It did work out. Also, Ice Beam Lapras. I think Ice Beam Lapras is definitely the way to go, especially with this team, with how weak we are to Pokemon like the Flying types, Mandibuzz, and Moltres all day today. We're so annoying to deal with. So yeah, if you want to use this team, make sure Ice Beam on the Lapras, double move your Moltres, use the Shadow Marowak, whatever else I said already too to make sure to do. But it was, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it was kind of a fun team. And it did the job here. It finished us off with a 3-2 here in the Catch Cup. And all I can say is I'm excited for this meta to not be around for another 3 months. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.